Today we're going to be talking about what's new in iOS 26. I am also new to iOS 26, so I'm kind of going along this journey with you. I have been previewing it for a little while, but there are some things that I have not yet played around with, and there's going to be even more that comes out once Apple releases it to the public. Just a reminder, right now we're still in the beta version. The public beta was released this month, and so everybody was able to get the beta version, play around with it. It's still a little buggy sometimes, so it's not working perfectly yet, but the hope is when everything is released in September, all of the new tools will be out. So there may be some things that will be new that I don't even know yet. So what I'm doing in this workshop is just I picked some things that I thought were important that we could talk about what some of the changes are so that you're ready for that. Okay, so what I am teaching from is the participant workbook. I am not a big fan of making anybody bored out of their mind through PowerPoints. There's actually a whole joke around death by PowerPoint. Not my jam, not what I want to do for you. I like doing hands-on stuff, giving you the opportunity to use your devices. So hopefully you have a device close by that you can use with the beta version on. If you don't, it was not a requirement. Feel free to just sit back and watch, and at least you'll have some exposure to what is coming down the pike. All right, a couple of things. Note that the iOS 26 will only be available for certain types of iPhones. And actually, I have that at the very end of this workbook. I believe I put the list here. Yeah. So iOS 26 will be available for the iPhone 11 up through the iPhone 16 Pro Max. So take a look at this list. It's in your workbook on one of the last pages, and you can make sure that your phone will be able to get it. And the other thing I want to note is that some of these features are related to Apple Intelligence, and Apple Intelligence is only available on the iPhone 15 Pro, Pro Max, and all of the 16 models, and of course, all of the new models that they're going to be releasing next month, which will be the iPhone 17 and all of its models. So just so you are aware of that. All right, I'm gonna hop back to page 01 and let's get started. All right, so what I'm doing is I'm actually using what Apple calls the iPhone mirroring feature on here. All right, so let's start with the most obvious thing, which is going to be this liquid glass, right? Liquid glass is basically what everything now is going to look like. There are pros and cons to it. Some people say that it is hard to see. Some people say it's not really user-friendly and accessible. I don't mind it so much. It took me a minute to get used to it. See-through, I think it actually allows things to be seen a little better because it's oftentimes you have something going on behind your screen and you want to be able to see what's behind. But that's what that is. When you hear them talk about liquid glass, you can kind of see it just looks like liquid glass, and it's just the way that it looks. Now, the widgets are basically the same. Some of them still look like they did before. Some of them will have that liquid glass behind it. And then also wallpaper, there are some new wallpaper features. So I'm actually going to go into my settings here, if it's going to allow me to do that. There we go. And it's really strange to navigate your iPhone, by the way, with your cursor on your computer versus using your finger. It's the weirdest thing. I love this, and I wish it would have been around for teachers when I was teaching in classrooms years ago, but it is a little strange. Anyway, I digress. Going into wallpaper. So it's just settings and then wallpaper. There are some new wallpapers available. And if you watched a video that I put out just the other day, did you see you can add weather to your home screen, where your home screen is actually showing what your actual weather is happening right now? I'm still waiting for a thunderstorm because I think that would be super, super cool to see the lightning happening on my screen. But you do have some new things here that you can do. Obviously, it's going to pull videos and pictures that you have already in your library, but you have some of the same ones that have been in there for a while. The iOS 26 ones are new. I actually have iOS 26 patterned here on the back of my desktop. and I have it on my phone as well. There are some older collections, and then there are some different colored things that you can choose from. So it's the same here. You just have a couple of more options, and you can just choose it, one you want, and then you can add widgets here through this way. And you can see if I wanted to add a widget here for, I'm assuming that this is temperature, although it feels a lot warmer than that here. If I wanted to add my timer, if I wanted to add kind of my schedule, I could do that. I can add the status of my battery. Oh, I can only have so many. I'm going to have to take one off. Let's see. I'm going to take, we'll just put that one on. Oh, well, I got to take one off. Okay, which ones do I have on there right now? Oh, I see. I have to edit it. All right, let's get rid of that one. Live teaching, everyone. Live teaching. Okay, I'm going to put my battery up there. Okay. So you can see it looks very similar. It's just got that liquid glass vibe, and you can add features here if you want. This takes you into your control panel, and you can add different things. It doesn't just have to be the camera. You could put the stopwatch there if that's something that you use frequently. Just want to make sure that nobody's popping in. I heard a clink. All right. And you can, again, here you can add different things. You've got all kinds of choices inside your control center. Again, looks the same as the last update. Still the same tools, nothing new and fancy in there, so I won't spend much time there. All right, so once I have that done, I can set the pair if I want to, and then I can hop out of there and be done with that. There we go. Okay, so let's then move on to the display and text size. Since I'm in settings here, you can go in here to your display and brightness, and you can change how bright your screen is. You can turn on True Tone, which will basically adjust. You might have noticed that feature where your phone, the brightness adjusts based on the light that you are in. And you can go to display zoom. You can create a display zoom there. You can go from light to dark if you prefer dark mode. This is dark mode. I like the dark mode because it's easier to see. It's easier on my eyes, especially since I'm someone that looks at a screen pretty often. So I try to protect myself by keeping mine in dark. Okay, coming back. Let's talk about messages and Apple Intelligence. Messages and Apple Intelligence. Remember, Apple Intelligence only available for iPhones 15 Pro Max and higher. So just the regular 15 have the capability for Apple Intelligence. What I'm using today is just a regular 16. It's kind of it's just my training phone that I use because I have a 15 Pro Max still, and I'm completely fine with that. I'm waiting to see what the 17s are going to look like. I usually stay a series or two behind because there's always problems, and I want to be aware of what those things are. So I'm still content with my 15. All right, so let's talk about what's changed with messages, because we all use messages. There's a new feature here where you can add group polls. Now, I'm going to go into a group message here that I have. This is a team of people that I'm going to play with. And there are some things that I can do inside of a group message. And one of the things that's really neat is I can change the background. So if I click the box that has all of the people's bubbles in here, I can edit the name and photos if I want to. And I don't know if a lot of you know that you can do this. You've always been able to do this, where you can change what that looks like. So if I wanted to make a dolphin, I could. I'm not going to do that, but you can now change the background of the chat. Now, I don't know if this is important to you, but I'm a very visual person, and I tend to like the colors. I find that this is a very exciting update, if you ask me. I can float through some different colors, and all I'm doing is just swiping here. I think that is a pretty cool feature that I can do. I can make a photo my background if I want to. So here's a really cool photo I think I took in Las Vegas. It's a nice picture of the Venetian. But how cool is that? I can basically make any background I want to be in the back of a chat. Super neat. Other things I can do in here, I can see who's in here. I can hide alerts. We've always been able to do that. I just thought I'd hit on that while we were inside of here. And the other thing we can do is we can run a poll inside of a chat. Now, for some reason, it's not showing me where that should be here at the top. There's going to be a plus button here at the top, and you can actually run a poll inside of a chat message. Oh, and you can also do it here from the plus button. That's where it is. You can add a poll. So within my group message, I could say, okay, we're ordering lunch. I'm going to put 3 choices in here: pizza, Subway, and Chick-fil-A. I want you to choose one. So you can actually run a poll inside of a text message, which I think is really neat. All of the other features are still here too. Okay. The emoji keyboard, creating your Genmoji is simple. You can just go in here, choose Genmoji, and then it's going to ask you to describe it. It kind of gives you some steps here, what you can do. So if I wanted a unicorn on a motorcycle, I could type that in, and Apple Intelligence is going to put that together for me. Isn't that magical? And I can just drop that right into a chat if I want, if I like it. And now it shows up right in there, and I can send that. So those are the new things. You can add a poll. Changing the name is something that's always been there. You can add a Genmoji, but the newest things here are to be able to change your background. If you press and hold on the text area, you now have the ability to just select part of the text message. In the past, it's always been the whole message where you can copy and paste it somewhere else. But now you have the opportunity where you press and hold, you can take just a portion of the text message. Let's move on to some apps, maps, photos, and camera. All right, so this is an exciting thing. I just discovered this one the other day. All right, so maps. Let's go into the maps. And now you can see places that you've been. So you can go into recents, and now I don't know how you feel about this, but your phone is keeping track of the places that you go to. So when you've been different places, it'll have those places stored inside of here. There is a way that you can go into your privacy and settings, and you can turn that off where it's not keeping track of your location. You can control what apps are using your location. The Maps app is one of those places, one of those apps that is paying attention to your location because it's just wanting to help you. It's not trying to be nosy. It's just trying to do it to help you. So just so you know, that is a new feature inside of the Maps app. All right, coming back to the home screen here, the camera. So let's go ahead into the camera. The camera is not going to show me while I'm doing this, but I just wanted to show you the interface here. Okay, you can now switch between video and photo, and notice that all those other features down there are gone. And I like this because it's simpler. You can still get to all of your features, like if you want to turn live on and off, if you want to turn flash on and off, your timer is here, the filter, you can change styles, your exposure, your aspect, it's all up here. It's much simpler. You also now just have the 1 and the 2, and that's your zoom in and out. You can still go further than 1 and 2. Obviously, we have some pretty amazing cameras on our iPhones, but just the 1 and the 2 is here. This is the same where it's going to flip to the front camera, and then this obviously is going to go into your library. Let's go into photos. The photo search is a little bit different. I am sure, like most of you, thought that the last update for photos was crazy wild and so unorganized, and many people hated it. In fact, a lot of creators like myself immediately shot content showing people how to hide all of those different menus that were there because it was just impossible and it was so overwhelming. They have apparently listened to us and said, okay, we realize that many of you might have lots of things in your library. I only have 40,616 Apple. Okay, that's a lot. So what they've done now is they've put things into collections and the library. So remember, the library is, instead of it being called Recents, which was a big pet peeve of mine, it's now called the library. And that's where everything lives. Everything lives in the library, no matter what folder it's in, no matter what album it's a part of, everything, every photo and video and screenshot, everything lives inside the library. But then there's collections. The collections are my albums, my memories, things that I've pinned, people and pets, featured photos, trips, shared albums. Now, I can go in here and expand on this if I want, or I can make it smaller so that it's not so much. I can also collapse everything. I can show it all, or I can reorder the things if I want to move them around somewhere else. I can. So that maybe only my pinned things are the things that I want to see all the time. And I can keep that open, and then I could keep everything else closed. So now it's basically just turned into a list. Media types all live here. So if you wanted to sort only by screenshots, you could go in here, and your utilities are all here too. So looking for all of those duplicates that you might have, you can go in here and you can clean up those duplicates. So it's all right here. There's just two areas, everything, and then all of your collections. And I will note that the search, now that Apple Intelligence has been activated, the search is a little bit easier, where I could just type in, I want to see sunset photos, and it will pull up all of my sunset photos. This is really helpful for me, especially when I'm creating content and I want a really nice background for something I'm putting on Instagram. I can just do this and quickly find what I need versus doing it the old way, which would be scrolling through my library for eternity until I find the one that I want. If I wanted to look for all the pictures of being in the theater, which I spend a lot of time at, I can go in here and I can find everything related to theater, which I love. Okay, so that is everything new that has come to the photos section and the camera section. So not a ton, but super, super easier. My takeaway from this really is that everything is easier now to navigate. It's not so much stuff. And again, you have full control over all of these things. Okay, so we are at the halfway point, and we have just some hidden gems and quick wins. So I have a little bit of time to pause for the two questions that came into the chat. So just a quick pause. I can also grab a drink here as I'm reading through these. Mary says, I'm like your husband. I haven't updated my iPhone 15 since iOS 18.1.1 because I heard how messed up photos are saved in search. What would be good reasons to update to the newer version? All right, Mary, you're selling it right now. The number one reason to update would be for this brand new layout of the library. It's much better, like I just shown. The previous iOS, which was iOS 18, was a disaster, and there were just things everywhere, and nobody was ready for that. So that would be one of the reasons. The second reason, and I tell this to my husband all the time, whether he listens to me or not is, you know, irrelevant, but the purpose of updating is also for safety, for bug fixes. You know, you're dealing with a device that is a computer. It's a digital device that runs on a lot of things that I don't understand on the inside. But in order to keep those things running the way they're supposed to, and in order for all of the safety features to work the way they're supposed to, that's why we need to keep updating. I always say an update on your phone is kind of like getting an oil change in your car. You want to keep it running properly, so you want to make sure that you're running those updates. The things that are getting updated as far as new features, you really should update just to keep your phone in tip-top shape. Because think about it, you pay a lot of money for that device, so you want to make sure that you take care of it. And now we're going to move into hidden gems and quick wins. Okay, some fun things here that are new. How many of you, and you can just kind of use an emoji if you want to, giving a thumbs up or whatever, how many of you use the alarm feature on your iPhone? How long is the snooze feature until your alarm goes back off again? Does anybody know? Drop it in the chat if you know. the answer to that. My son should know. He presses snooze about 12 times every morning. Terrible habit. All right. Some of you don't know, huh? Well, the snooze time is actually 9 minutes. 9 minutes is the across the board time for a snooze alarm. Who chose that? I don't know. Somebody chose that. Not me. 9 minutes. Well, now with the new update, you can choose how long your snooze button goes off for. So it's really easy to do. You're going to go into your settings and you're going to go to your clock. I'm in my clock. Here's my alarm. I can edit it. Snooze duration set to 9 minutes previously by default. You can now change it. If you like the snooze and you want that 15-minute snooze, go ahead. Or if you only need a quick 3 minutes, do that too. Not good for you, but I'd say the 15 is probably better for you than the 3-minute would be. But now you can choose your snooze duration. I think that's a pretty neat feature. The battery, we can now see the battery. You can check your charge time. So let's take a look at that. Let's go out to settings, battery percentage. Obviously you want to put that on. Battery usage. And you can put on your home and lock screen, you can put your battery usage there if you want to. So that is a new feature. I'm honestly the kind of person that just likes to have that percentage there because then I know how much more I got to go. All right, and silencing junk calls. So this feature, I believe, has gotten an improvement. We've been able to silence unknown callers, but junk calls is a little bit different. So I'm going to go into my settings here and I'm going to go into my phone. Okay, scrolling down, call filtering. This is where you would silence those unknown callers. Okay, so any number that comes in that is not in your contacts will be silenced and sent to voicemail. Be careful with this though, because if you have a doctor that calls from a number maybe that you don't have saved, you're going to miss those calls. So just know that when you turn this on, any call that comes in that's unknown will be sent to your voicemail. So make sure you're checking your voicemail. A new thing that is being launched, and they're going to talk more about this at the launch, is this screening unknown callers. So the way that this works is when an unknown call comes in, you can choose what happens. So Apple Intelligence can ask the reason for calling, where someone will have to answer a question, please state the reason for your call or whatever, or you can silence them. So it's almost like a pause, and it's going to be a great way to get rid of those random call warranty calls that come in. They will be stopped before the call is even pushed through to your phone. They will be stopped and asked their reason for calling. So I don't know if you've ever called anyone and you've had to press 1 to continue or whatever. It's going to be something like that, but it's a pretty amazing feature to come to the iPhone. And they call this call screening. So you have complete control over what that happens. You can turn that off if you don't want it. You can just silence unknown callers and that'll just do the same thing and it'll just send it to voicemail. But that is a new thing. Detecting call waiting. This is new. You'll be able to automatically detect when you're placed on hold. I haven't been able to try this yet, but it is a new feature. So make sure you go in there and take a look around. I'm curious to actually see this screening in action, and I know that they will be showing that during the Apple event. And then once we all get access to it, that'll be something really neat. So I think that's a pretty cool feature. And then passcodes. So in this last update, iOS 18, we got the new passcode app. Okay. And it looks like this. And if you haven't spent any time in here, it's way better than it used to be. The password app All of your passwords that you save now are in here. They automatically get classified and put into different things. You can see all the Wi-Fi networks that they've saved passwords for. I've got some passwords that maybe have been compromised inside of here, but you can now share your passwords with your family if that's something you want to do. And I will tell you, those types of things are pretty important, especially if something happens to you and your family needs to get access to your passwords. You know, my husband every night, he has this thing and he'll say to me at nighttime, you know my password to unlock my phone, right? Just in case something happens to me, make sure to tell the kids that I love them. You know, he has this giant fear that he's going to die in his sleep, which he asked me is probably the best way to go. But, you know, this is such an important feature. So if you have a trusted family member that you feel needs to know your passwords just in case of emergency, you can go in here now and you can share your passwords with them. You can also add new passwords in here pretty simply if you want to. You can create new folders if you want. So definitely take some time in here to go look at the passwords, but you can share those with your family. And then you can AirDrop passwords as well, which I think is a pretty neat feature. When you go into AirDrop, an AirDrop is that thing where you can just put your phones close together and give someone a password. So let's go in there and take a look at how we do that. It's settings and then privacy. Privacy, search bar. They moved it to the bottom. You can search for what you're looking for. There it is. AirDrop. It's under general. Okay. So AirDrop is settings general. I'll make sure to update that in the workbook. So settings general AirDrop. Then you can go in here and it doesn't look like it's here yet, but it will be released where you'll have a passcode sharing and you'll be able to share. But while we're in AirDrop, I often get a lot of questions around AirDrop and how safe it is and can someone access my phone, things like that. And you have complete control over who can send you things or who you can receive from. And you always have to do an action to get something from someone. So for example, when my son sends me a picture through AirDrop, I have to accept it in order for it to come through. But here in these settings, you can choose contacts only, which is what I would choose, because then only people that are in your contacts have the ability to AirDrop you anything. I would keep that. Some people keep this on, everyone for 10 minutes. I do not recommend that. At least they have changed it to where it turns off after 10 minutes. So if you need to AirDrop something to a stranger that they need it, I would not recommend using this. I would keep it to either off if you don't use AirDrop at all or contacts only. I do want to talk about troubleshooting. I want you to remember that this software is new and it's still in beta version. So there are some features that you may not have yet. Once the public version comes out and you have access to get that, you'll know, and I even put here, are you missing some new features? Check your settings, go into general, confirm that you've got the iOS 26 when it comes out in September. Right now, you should have the iOS 26 beta if you did decide to download it. Some features do need time to appear. Sometimes your password history, when it's updating, will be empty. It just takes time to populate. Same with your photos. Anytime you are upgrading your phone, sometimes photos take a minute. Everything is saved in the cloud as long as you've been using, you back up your phone every night, you have automatic backups turned on, everything is saved in the cloud. So you don't ever have to worry that you're not going to get your stuff when you upgrade. It just sometimes takes time to populate onto your phone. Okay, let me pop over to questions. And I see Nanette has a question here. I have an iPhone 14 Pro. I'm planning to purchase a new one in the fall. I'm a gadget girl. Yay. So of course I want the 17. Aside from bugs, any reason to wait? I presume bug fixes come out quick and that would be protected. Nanette, I would say, yeah, getting the 17 is a great choice. There's going to be a lot of options. In fact, I was just reading the news this morning and I saw there are a bunch of colors coming out. I think there's like 4 or 5 models that are coming out. I also heard that the models are going to be made a little bit cheaper. So there's going to be like a low end version which is this one. This is the basic 16 that I have. This is the X. I think this is just like the XR or the X, whatever the basic one is. I want to say it's XR. I think there's going to be a variety of models to choose from. But also, I will say that every time September rolls around and Apple rolls out new iPhones, older iPhones go on sale. So it might be a good time to pick up a 15 or a 16. People might be selling them on Marketplace or on eBay. Stores are going to be trying to clear them out. So you may find some really good deals on one of those. I don't see there being a huge difference between the 16 and the 17 right now. Don't quote me because I haven't seen all the 17s yet and I haven't heard of all the specs yet, but it's a good opportunity to get a great sale price on one that's a little bit older, like one of the 16s. So take that for what it's worth. Like I said, I'm still using this is my demo one. I'm still using my 15 Pro Max. And I mean, she's a good girl. She takes care of me. She does everything I need her to. Will I update eventually? Probably. For me, it's always, I'm on with my cellular provider. I tend to wait for a few months just to work out the bugs. But to answer the other part of your question, bug fixes do come out quick. And you'll see as soon as iOS 26 comes out, it'll be maybe a week or two, you'll see iOS 26.1 and iOS 26.2, and you'll start seeing all of these things start to come out because more and more bugs will be addressed and fixed. Mary, why does my iPhone not automatically go to low battery mode when under 20 like it used to? So that is a setting that you need to have. And I don't know if that is still a thing. Let me go back into settings here. And I'm just going to go to battery, power mode. Okay, so now it's called adaptive power mode. So inside of here, you can turn on low power mode automatically here if you want to. And I only recommend this when like you're somewhere and you're trying to conserve the battery and you don't think you're going to be able to charge anytime soon to turn it on here. But adaptive power will slow things down a little bit to extend your battery life. That's a new feature that's coming. And it does say that low power mode may turn on at 20%, but I don't know if that's a guarantee. So that is a really good question. I'm not seeing an option. There used to be an option to turn that on where you could say, turn it automatically on to low power mode. But you're right, it's not there anymore. There's optimized battery charging, clean energy charging. But yeah, I'm not seeing it. Good question. I would say that if you're using that adaptive power, try that and see if that comes on automatically when it hits 20%. And again, that might be another feature that they're just not rolling out yet. So I don't know if that's the answer you wanted, but just trying to figure that one out because that used to happen with my phone too. Is it better to wait until 20% to charge? Not really. Honestly, I think running your battery down all the way every now and then is a good thing. It just kind of starts it from the beginning. And there's a lot of hearsay around when you should charge. Some people keep their phone plugged in all the time. If you have your phone constantly charging, it is eventually going to wear on your battery. So I would just be careful with that. I run my battery down. I mean, I run it down. And now that I'm running on this phone that I'm using for today's demo, I noticed that the battery does run down a little bit more with the new software, which by the way is completely normal. So if you get the beta version, if you download iOS 26 in September when the final version's available, just know that it will eat some battery life, especially if you're on an older model phone, because the software is more powerful. Every time they release something new, it's a little more powerful, and it takes time for our devices to adjust to that new power. So you might notice a little bit of a significant drain, but I don't know that you should wait until 20%. I don't know what the magic number is. I just say that you should run your phone down to the end at least once a week. Mary, so do we wait until a week or two after iOS 26 is released to download to avoid initial bugs? You can. Someone like me, I download it the day it's released. I'm watching with bated breath, with my notepad when they release all of the new things and they talk about all the features, because for me, I'm an educator and I want to know as much as I can. And they don't ever invite me to those events, so I have to watch from home. But I want to know, and I'm going to download it and I'm going to try it and I'm going to look and see where are the problems, because I want to make sure I can communicate that out to my audience so that it's a better transition for them. But it's not a terrible idea if you're not impatient and you're like, yeah, I'm just going to hang out and wait and see what happens. Waiting a week isn't a terrible idea. Okay. What I would like to do is just share a couple of resources with you. This workshop was a free workshop, and it actually began as something I was just going to offer my members of tech, which is my private community. And I did ask them to invite their friends too. And I also offered it to members of my newsletter community, people who get my weekly newsletter called the Weekly Click. So if you're here and you're in one of those groups, if you are not part of tech and you want to try it out, if you, within the next half an hour when I get off of this call, I'm going to be putting in a promo code for tech. If you want to just try it out for the first month, you'll get 50% off just by putting in the code iOS. But normal, it's just $10 a month. And I have a couple of tech members here on the call, and I might here in a moment ask one of them to talk about what some of the benefits are, but I will show you what tech looks like since we have a little bit of time, so you can see what am I getting aside from, access to every course that I've ever taught for free. It's included in your membership in a library. You also get, I offer free workshops every month in there, and every other Wednesday I have live Q&A office hours where you can just pop in and chat with me about whatever for 30 minutes. And you get access to free one-on-ones with me, which those things alone I think are really great reasons to join. I have about 70 members inside of tech. We started in January of this year, and I've been really happy with how it's going, but hopefully you'll consider that. And if you are interested, in the workbook, this should be a live link that should take you there. And here I will just drop the link into the chat just in case your link doesn't work. And that will take you to the page if you are interested in checking it out. And I will talk about this here in a second. I'm going to go back to where I was here. Here at the end of my screen. Also, the other things that you can do is obviously you can follow me. I'm on all of the platforms. You can go to my website, which is tech.com. I've got free resources there. And if you want, you can subscribe to the Weekly Click. And if anyone would like to talk about what their experience has been inside of tech, please let me know. But I'm just give you a quick little peek of what this group looks like. So tech actually is part of what we call Mighty Networks. Mighty Networks is a company that offers communities to creators, to organizers, to people all over the world. And so I have my own, and I use their app. So it's an app called Mighty. And through the app, when you get the app on your phone, you have access to everything Tech Girl Gen. It's kind of like my hub of stuff. And inside here, you can see who the members are. When you join, you land here on a welcome page, and it talks about what makes our community unique, what my commitment to you is, what you can expect. And then there's a recorded orientation here that you can watch as I walk you through what this looks like. This talks about how to get the app. But what's in here is basically it's almost like its own social network. And it's private, just us. And I'm in here pretty frequently. In fact, my community, they get stuff before anyone publicly does. I give them stuff to try. I get ideas from them. In fact, a lot of my content comes from the ideas of people in my community, because you are my audience. You are the heart of my audience. And I want to know what you need. I mean, I can guess all day long, but that wouldn't make any sense. So I love putting things in here, polling people, getting ideas. I put announcements on here. There's a discussion feed, which I love. The discussion feed has turned into Q&A chat between members of the community. Like Gary here, he's a great member. He's always posting resources inside that he finds on different sites. Here's something I posted. This is iPhone Life. You probably know them. They sent me a course and said, hey, Jen, can you share this with your community? And I said, absolutely, I will. And then they sent me a deal link for people to join their community at like a huge discount. So I get things like that. I'm often posting personal things in here. My office hours happen every other Wednesday, and it's just a call like this where you can pop on, you can be on screen with me, you can ask questions. Sometimes we talk about all kinds of things. All of the learning events that I host are here. Past events, looks like I don't have anything here. I've moved everything, but all the upcoming events you'll see here. So you can see that right now, this is where we're at and this one's live, but I have a tab over here for workshop replays where I'm working on a library. And right now I have these 5 courses. These are all recorded classes. And all you do is go in here and you can click on it and you can watch it, and it doesn't cost you anything. It's all part of your membership. So this is new. I'm working on this library, but everything that we've done inside of here is here in this feed. So every course that we've done, every workshop that we've done, and I generally do these once a month. And then I have some just for fun areas too, where I always talk about everything theater here. So a lot of people inside of here, they're into theater too, but I love being a part of theater. In fact, this is the latest character that I'm playing currently, and I'm very excited about that. And then you also have a chatbot named Dove, of course, that you have access to for free. There's a how-to guide. This will take you right to my plain website. And then the VIP Vault, this is where even more content is and where you can schedule time with me. You get free 30-minute help session with me every month. And I mean, that's a $75 value right there. I again try to keep my prices low so that people can get what they need without having to go broke. So those are all the things that you have in here. This content here is always being added to. Like I said, we just started in January, and I'm going to be adding more courses. I'm going to be adding more resources, and more people that join, the more and more conversations that we'll end up having inside where you're actually helping each other. And that's really the purpose of the community. It's not for me to be in here and be talking to everyone. It's more for you to connect with other people and learn from each other. So I love that aspect of it. And I hope that you will consider joining. And those of you that have joined, I thank you so much for your patronage and being a part of here. In fact, I think a few of you are original members and have been here since the very beginning, founding members. So thank you so much for that. All right. With that being said, I'm going to let you go.